I always say your brand is like a recipe. And today we've got someone in the kitchen who knows exactly how to help you turn your story into a bestseller with all the right ingredients. She is the queen of profitable publishing with pre order profits. That's a mouthful. The founder of Shep Publishing House and the go to guide for authors ready to publish with purpose. So, from helping you stir up a strong message to serving a book that sells, Ashley Shepard is all about flavor, strategy, and results. Grab your favorite snack, pull up a chair, and let's get into it. Welcome to Talk Like a Brand, the podcast where we're serving up fresh insights and strategies to make your brand look as good as it tastes. I'm Peachy Williams, the brand voice builder and your resident brand chef, here to help you cook up unforgettable brands with a side of fun. Whether you're starting from scratch or looking to add new ingredients to the mix, you're in the right place. Grab your headphones, get comfy, and let's get in the kitchen because it's time to serve up some business smarts that'll leave your brand craving for more. Let's get cooking. Welcome, Ashley Shepard.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming into our kitchen today. So let's get into it. You are the queen, I'm going to dub you the queen of profitable publishing. So every chef has a story to tell, right? Why you stepped into the kitchen. So what actually inspired you to start Chef Publishing House and help authors cook up publishing success?
Well, what's funny is that before I got into publishing, I actually was in the food industry. And so from my previous business, Chef Ashley Shep, and through that, I've developed cookbooks and faith-based devotionals that are tied to food and faith. And from people seeing the results that I got from my books in other industries, then people asked me to help them with their books. And so I said, okay, well, let me figure it out. And so that's kind of how my author consultancy got established because I started offering advice and tips and things like that. And then it became, okay, can you just do it for me or can you really help me at a high level? And that's how I've progressed to where I am now. So I support self published and independent authors to be able to publish profitably and to really think about ways that they can make money besides just book sales.
That's amazing. And I have watched you in action. So I know firsthand all the things that you have done and all the things that go on behind the scenes that you are actually opening up your doors and letting people know. I think publishing is something people think it's just a one and done, or it's something that they can just upload to Amazon KDP and that's it. And that's so far from the truth, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's just the beginning. And once you put it on Amazon, that doesn't mean it's automatically going to sell. There's so many other aspects you need to be mindful of, and even just whether or not Amazon is the best option for you, because there are other options out there to distribute your book.
Exactly. So, how does Shep Publishing House actually help authors whip up their ideas into irresistible books that people want to buy?
Yeah, so we always start with the research. And so when working with a potential client, I talk to them about what it is that they would like to see as a result of their books. And the most common phrase that I get is, I want to get my book out there, or I want to sell a lot of books. And I stop them and I say, okay, where is there? Who all gonna be there? And how many?
Right, right.
How many is a lot of books? Like if you don't have a clear goal and a clear target, then you're never going to reach it. And I come from an education background. And so I taught for over a decade and did support as a literacy coach for language arts teachers. And with that, we always spent time being very specific about our SMART goals of what is it that we want our kids to be able to achieve. And so I carry that same thing over with my clients of what exactly are we trying to achieve? Is it that you are trying to get bestseller status? Because I know that's something that a lot of self-published authors like. We might get into that later about why that's not really the main goal for most authors when we get down to it. But what is it that you really want to accomplish? Is it that you want to create other products and services that tie into your book? So you can use your book as a lead magnet to bring readers into your ecosystem of different offers that you have. Is it that you want to use your book to be able to land speaking gigs and sell your book in bulk? There's so many different ways that you can make money from your book and make an impact from your book. Being really clear on what those are from the beginning and or spending time through coaching or consulting with me is something that helps people to be able to narrow down what they want to do so that way you can take the right steps to get that done.
Okay, and so you said something very interesting because most people don't put research and publishing a book in the same sentence, right? I want you to talk a little bit about the research aspect and how important it is when you're actually trying to pre-sell your book and actually put a book out there that people want to buy.
Right. So, really, research should start before you even start writing your book. It's something that informs your book outline, it should inform your book draft, it should let you know who it is that your ideal reader will be because too often authors think that their book is for everyone. And your book is not for everyone. Your book is for a
Right.
very select set of people. And I believe this mindset comes from thinking from a scarcity mindset of like, oh, well, I need to say my book anybody can buy my book, anybody can benefit from my book. And that's just really not the case. Everybody doesn't want your book. And I'm not saying that in a in a way that's like with an attitude or anything, but your book serves a specific purpose. So for example, my first book was for first time moms. Not very small, but that's a small audience of people. I wouldn't want to advertise that to grandmas or men or whoever, people who don't have kids or who haven't had a kid for the first time or haven't adopted a kid for the first time because it's not going to resonate with them and it's not going to be something that would be beneficial to them and they're not going to be interested in it. Even if your book is a more broad topic of, let's say you're a romance author or you write self-help, you still are writing it for a very specific group of people. Really taking time to understand those people, finding out what places that they hang out, finding out how they show up in different spaces, the wording that they use, and in a way that you are putting yourself in their perspective and you might actually be inside your ideal audience set. So the reason why my first book was about that is because I was a first time mom and I needed a book that helped me to navigate that first year after having my first child. And so you might have the luxury of being inside the audience. And so really think about the places that you are appearing, the places that you show up, the places that give you comfort, and the places that help you to overcome challenges or make you feel better about certain things in your life. And then use that to be able to make informed decisions. And so that helps you to understand okay, what types of vending events should I show up at? What types of podcasts should I appear on? What types of content should I be posting online that's going to be a beacon for other people to come to me so that way they know, okay, I have the solution that they need and I'm able to help support them through my book or other products and related services.
Well, you're doing a great job in terms of advertising and getting people to come to you. I will say that your information that you put out there is very engaging and it's very enlightening. And a lot of times people don't, again, I go back to the everybody can write a book, but actually selling that book can be challenging. One of the things that you really push that I appreciate is you talk about pre sales. And most people don't talk about pre sales if they are in the self publishing industry. People don't think along those lines. You see that happening at like major publishing houses like Kensington and things like that. You talk about pre-sales a lot. So timing is everything, especially when you're cooking, right? Timing is everything in pre-sales as well. And you talk a lot about pre-sales that will help you actually pay for items you need to get your book done. So how far in advance should authors actually begin their pre-sale preparations to create maximum buzz and get those dollars that they need that can potentially help them?
Right. Yes. Excellent question. And thank you for noticing that I'm out here working, talking, trying to get these self published authors to know that they can actually cover their publishing costs with pre sales if done strategically and done right. This answer is it depends. And so essentially, you want your pre order to be short enough that you have enough engagement and a buzz, but not too long to the point where you are going to burn out. And so you might see these larger, traditionally published authors, they're doing a pre-sale for a year. I've seen upwards of 2 years. And me personally, I don't have time to do that for one single book because
Me either.
right. And most people don't. And so then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I see authors who put up a post, and this is the first time they've let people know that they're even writing a book, and they're immediately asking them to buy the book. And to me, that's also not the best option because the first time that people hear about your book, you shouldn't just be asking them for money. That's like, we didn't even know you were writing a book. Okay, what are we talking about? And this is something where I've seen outside of that spectrum, if you think about people who ask you to donate to like their kids fundraiser or and you don't talk to this person. I'm not saying people that you're friends with, but like people you don't talk to this person and they're asking you, "Oh, this person's going on a trip or this person's doing XYZ. Can you send money?" I don't even know who this child is. We haven't had communications with with you about
Right.
your child. And so in terms of pre-sales, I'm going to give some averages, but just on the low end to the high end. You have to understand there's certain things that you need to account for. You have to account for your bandwidth, your capacity. Do you have people helping you? Are you doing it by yourself? Are you comfortable with the publishing process to know when those things are going to be done? Because you have to tie that in with it together. So it's definitely not a one size fits all. But as far as on the low end, I typically would say no shorter than a month. So no shorter than about 4 to 5 weeks, because you really want to give people time to get used to the idea of your book in the first place if you haven't done any announcements. And then also you want to have time for them to actually purchase it. So at least 2 weeks for them to purchase it. And then you want to wrap things up on the back end of that and continue on with the rest of your launch if that's your plan. And then on the high end, typically anywhere from 3 to 9 months is a good sweet spot for most self-published authors. It gives you enough time to complete your book if you're completing your book within the pre-order period, or if your book is already done before it, then it gives you time to really deep dive into your content. And a lot of this also depends on what platform you're using to be able to share out your content, because as we know, if you're focusing on social media, the algorithm is doing whatever it wants to do on multiple platforms.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yes. And there's a shift. And so, depending upon when people are listening to this, that shift may have adjusted again. And so, thinking about where it is that you're using to be able to drive sales, whether it's social media, email marketing, whether you're doing speaking engagements, some of those provide a little bit more leeway and flexibility in terms of the timeline that people will purchase. Whereas, like, for example, over on Facebook, people are seeing posts days, weeks after it's been posted. And so if you're only relying on one platform to get your word out about to get the word out about your book, it could just be that people didn't see your posts. And so, or all those things are things to take into account when deciding how long you want your pre-order to be. My stance is the longer, the better, but not so long that you're burning out and that you are not able to keep that momentum for your audience.
That makes sense. And actually, that kind of debunks, you hear all the time people say, it doesn't have to be perfect, just do it. Just put it out there, just get it done or whatever. But I think in certain things, especially when it comes to publishing and getting the best product out, sometimes you have to let it simmer a little and get people ready to taste it. And it's hard because sometimes people feel like they've taken so long to actually write the book, they don't really want to take the time to do the pre-sales. They just want to get it out into the world, and it will be advantageous for them to actually get into pre-sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you do, you have a series called Pop-in Pre-sales, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your Pop-in Pre-sales. And I love that name, Pop-in Pre-sales, that pops.
Thank you. Yes. So it's a private pop-up podcast. So it's a short run podcast. And it is essentially a case study that goes behind the scenes of the pre-order for my new book, Profitable Publishing with Pre-orders. And I thought it was important to, one, do a case study. I typically do a case study with each book that I release. And in this case, I thought, okay, instead of doing it at the end, I'm going to do it along the way as I'm actually, while it's fresh on my mind and while I'm going through the process. And so each week during that portion of my book launch or that portion of my pre-order, I recorded an episode to really walk listeners through the process of, okay, what technology am I using to be able to host my pre-order and my launch? What resources that are offline that I'm using? What books am I reading? And it really gave a deep dive as far as like facts, figures, numbers, stats, all the nitty gritty, everything you possibly want to know about the pre-order process from my actually most successful book pre-order. And so this was a bonus that was provided for people who pre-ordered the book. So that way, instead of just having them wait from when they ordered it to when they receive it, adding in additional things for them, for those readers, those pre-orders, folks to be able to participate in, to be able to consume, because depending upon your pre-order, it could be a good bit of time before people actually get your book. And so why not use it as an opportunity to fill that space with something that's going to help them better when they actually get the book, and also to help them get some wins before they receive your copy of the book.
Hey, brand builders, want to take your brand to the next level? Join my exclusive mailing list at bit.ly/colormail and get the latest tips, tricks, and resources to create, brand, and grow your way to success. It's quick, it's free, and packed with everything you need to make your brand shine. Don't wait, hit that link and join the brand fam today. That makes sense. And wins, everybody wants wins. Everybody needs wins, right? So I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about the profitable publishing with pre-order profits, right? Mistakes happen even in the best kitchens. And so what common pre-sale pitfalls do authors face, and how does your approach with your book help them avoid building on that brand?
Yeah, so I actually have a whole chapter devoted to mistakes. I call them lessons learned coming from the teaching background. And so it's something where, as a self published author, you are consistently combating the thoughts that you have from traditional publishing of, oh, your book has to be like this, or you have to do your launch this way. And it's something where, okay, there's a blueprint that comes from traditional publishing, but you're not a traditionally published author in the sense of the people that I'm speaking to in the book. And so with that comes freedom, it comes flexibility. You can kind of do what you want to a certain degree. Of course, there's certain things we want to follow, but you can do what you want to a degree, and you don't have to be beholden to the strategies that traditional published authors use. And so the biggest one is feeling like you have to be boxed in. So that's the biggest mistake. The first mistake is feeling like you have to do your pre-order and you have to do your book launch the exact same way as everybody else. And in fact, you shouldn't do it the same way as everybody else, because then you're kind of blending into the crowd. One of my mentors, Audrey Richmond, you know her, but she talks about being uncloned and being outside of the box and really standing in like your unicorn status of just being a different type of author. And so I think that's something that has helped me stand out, is to be uniquely me and think about, okay, what are some things that I can offer that are besides just the book? So like we mentioned in the podcast episode, but what are some things that you can do for your readers that help them to really focus on being excited about your book, as opposed to just, oh, I wrote a book. Like that's exciting. But really thinking about, okay, can I do a live event for them? And it could be virtual, it doesn't have to be in person. Can I do something that's like a themed party? So if you write children's books, or even if you're an adult romance author or something of that sort, or adult fiction author, having a themed party like Bridgerton by Shonda Rhimes, people would have Bridgerton parties and they set them up themselves. I had the food that was from the time period. And if you're creating a whole world in your book, that's a prime example of what you can be doing to be able to bring your readers in, to get them to share freely, because people were sharing those all over the internet. And you might be thinking, okay, well, I'm not Shonda Rhimes. She had to start somewhere. That's not the point.
Right.
You have to realize that the people who are pre-ordering your book, those are going to be your most excited fans. So they're going to be the people who are like, I love what you're doing. I love everything you write. Please let me know when there's more stuff. And they also want to have closer access to you. So another mistake is that people don't really stand in their confidence when it comes to being an author. You think, oh, well, I don't know if anybody's going to read my book, or it's just like a little, like people like to little their bigs. And I always tell people, don't do that. Like, we're not littling our bigs. This is a big deal. You're writing a book. You're creating something that is a asset that you can make money from over and over and over again. And it's something that is bringing joy to other people, especially in a time like right now with everything that's going on in the world. You want to really tap in and understand that people are looking for what it is that you're offering. And so think about ways where you can provide a closer proximity to you as the author, and also to make the experience better for them. And then the next one that we've kind of touched on is that your book is not for everyone. So that one is one that trips up a lot of authors, that I find that they are trying to just post their link wherever, send their book link via DMs to whoever, and not
Right.
really think about, okay, is this person that I'm sending this to, is this post that I'm adding my book link under unsolicited? Is this going to result in a sale? Or would it be better for me to really spend time researching and understanding my readers, so that way I can show up in those spaces and be a voice of reason for them, or be an authority in that platform? And really, once you get that one, everything else makes it so much easier. When you're able to when you're able
Right.
to sell to someone who is already interested, it is a much easier sell. You're not having to feel salesy, you're not having to feel like, "Oh, I don't know if they're going to want my book." They are the type who are like, "Why didn't you tell me about this book? Another part in the series, do you have other books?" And so you want to really focus on who it is that is your reader, and thinking about how to make the experience best for them, and what would be something that would help them to read your book. And I say that because most people who buy books do not actually finish reading them. Studies show this.
That's
Recommend,
true.
yeah, recommend your book and then leave a review, because at the end of the day, you want those reviews. And so I also like to say, you want people to buy your book, not just download it because it's free. In the realm of pre-orders, that's kind of a huge thing of, oh, I got to get the downloads on on Kindle, and so that I can get bestseller status. And I'm actually glad that Kindle created, or that Amazon KDP created two different bestseller lists for free books versus paid
Mhm.
books. Because somebody who downloads your book for free, they are not going to be as likely to read it, and they're definitely not going to be as likely to leave a review. As well, on the opposite end of the spectrum, somebody who purchased your pre-order for your book and pays money out of their pockets, out of whatever funds that they have, they are going to be more likely to be someone who is more excited about your book, who is more interested in the journey and the trajectory of your book launch. They're going to want to hear about those check-ins that you're thinking, oh, nobody wants to hear this part, but those are going to be the people who are your raving fans. And so really focusing on your fans and focusing on your audience, to me, is the key to profitable pre-orders, but also just profitable publishing in general.
I agree, and it's an investment. People who spend their money, they've invested in you and
Mhm,
your book, and so that's very important. One of the things that people don't realize is that when you're writing books, and I'm gonna go back to what you said about, your book is not for everyone. A
mhm.
lot of times people don't even realize that when you're writing that book, you are writing in a space where you are kind of establishing who you are as a thought leader to a certain extent. And so you want those people to be invested. You don't want somebody to just look at your book and not even pick it up because they are not invested in you.
Right.
And so I'm so glad that you touched on that because again, a lot of times what I see is people, they little themselves because of the fact that they've heard the myth that, oh, you can just write a book. And it's just so much more than just writing a book. I know it's
Mhm.
a great thing for someone to say, I'm an author. Okay, but you're an author of what? Or were you
Right.
in an anthology or did you just write a book just to write it? Or did you write it to actually help people make an investment or change perception or something like that? I really appreciate you talking about that. How do you help those authors kind of match their pre-sale strategy with their target audience and the genre they choose to write in?
Yeah, so depending upon what level of service they work with me on, it could be reading the book, profitable publishing with pre-orders, or it could be working in a coaching aspect. So that way we're able to kind of work through that together and bounce ideas off of each other. But also, I am someone who just divinely, like the Holy Spirit, I feel like sends me clients. And it's something where the people that are supposed to be with me are with me. And so then I get downloads for them, like, oh, you need to say this. Okay, well, I'm gonna say it. And sometimes it's something where they're like, well, how did you know that? I was reading a devotional about that this morning, or that's something that you just blessed me. Like another guest you had on the podcast recently, Takora Davis, she posted about a feature of me, and somebody in the comments said, you don't know how this blessed me. I'm gonna be reaching out to you. It's something where I feel like the people that are sent to me are gravitationally pulled towards me because I have something that they need. And so some of it is often breaking limiting beliefs of what's actually possible for them. Or just being a beacon, even through my free content, I've had people say, oh, well, I mean, this YouTube video, this was perfect. This is just what I needed. And so it's not necessarily that everything is a one on one coaching aspect because I know people think that's the only way you can get a transformation. That's not quite the case. Depending upon your level of readiness and your level of capacity, ability, your previous understanding, your background knowledge, that would kind of dictate what types of things are offered because I'm not someone who's just like, well, I'm going to charge XYZ just because. It's what do you actually need? What is it that you're actually lacking? What kind of ways can I support you? And so going back to the options. So the book, the one-on-one coaching, and then I also offer a group coaching program called Pre-Order Profits. And so it is a 9-week program. We go through the process of my Pre-Order Profits course, and it walks through step by step how to do each of these steps, as well as giving that feedback in a group setting because it's great to work with me. However, there's something different about going through the pre-order process and even book launching with other people who are like-minded individuals who see things in you that you don't see in yourself and who are able to pour into you and build relationships and foster and build that accountability across the board. And so that's an option as well. And then for those folks who are like, I just need to get this done, I would love for you to do it and have it done quickly. Then I do offer VIP days where my team and I will complete your pre-order process for you. So that way you have all of your assets, you have your content that's ready to go, your emails are ready to go. We'll help you develop your offers for what to actually sell and what kind of things make sense to fit with your book. And then that way things are scheduled and all you have to do is show up and smile and respond.
Yes, we live in a microwave society, so a lot of people will be like, "I want that one." That's amazing, and It warms my heart. I know for a fact you were divinely guided to do this.
You.
I remember when you wrote the first journal, your mom's journal. Sometimes people were talking about don't belittle yourself or, don't second guess yourself. And I think a lot of people, when they kind of step out, and I've actually gone through this before, sometimes it's that fear of success.
Mhm.
People face the fear of success, or sometimes people get in their own way. So, what would you say to authors who are actually getting in their own way and they want to get this done, but they just need that something?
Yeah. So, and yes, we've been knowing each other for it's been almost 5 years now. Yes, way back in the those days from the mom book. But I will give you a couple quotes and then also provide some validation because I think people, not I think, I know people assume when we see others online, we assume that the people we look up to or the people that we are following, that they just know how to do everything, that they don't have any problems, that everything is perfect, that they never
Right?
guess themselves. And that is a lie.
Very much so.
Yeah. It's not that they don't have challenges. It's not that they, and myself included, like I have challenges. I have things I have to figure out during this book launch. I had my second child. I've experienced job loss or my last book launch. Like there's things that happen. You have to make the choice and decide, okay, is what I'm going through, is it more important than creating a lifelong asset for me to be able to help other people? Or is it something where it's like, I need to take a break, I need to take a beat? And then also really thinking about, okay, if you think about someone who's an imposter, and I have a section on imposter syndrome because I know it's a thing for authors in the book. When you think about imposters and scammers, they never worry about being scammers, like never. They're just straight up scamming all the time. They don't care.
I agree. I agree.
And so if you're not a scammer, then you need to stop worrying about being an imposter. You are already literally doing the thing. And or you already have been given some gift or talent, whether it's from just knowing, just inherently, because it doesn't mean you have to be educated in a traditional education space. It doesn't mean you have to have had the experience. Some people are just gifted in these things. You have to realize, and so this is a quote that I was going to share, is that, and this is from Amber L. Wright. I saw her speak at a conference in 2017, and it helped me to get myself in gear because I was on the fence about whether or not I should start my food business. And so her quote is that your gift is someone else's struggle. Why would you insult God by not setting them free?
Amen. Ooh, that's powerful. That's
Yeah.
really, really, really powerful. So, thank you for that. And I hope you guys take that nugget with you. You have been doing this for a while, and so you're really good at it, by the way. Really good at it, guys. If you need publishing stuff, go to Ashley. But let's talk strategy for a second. So, what is one unique or underrated tip from your pre-sale process that authors absolutely need to know?
Okay. So this might ruffle some feathers, but when it comes to your publishing and pre-sales in general, hosting your pre-order on Amazon KDP is not the best option. So if you are focused on page reads, which the Kindle Unlimited folks, they're gonna come for me, but that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. If you're focused on page reads, if you're focused on actual books sold, then you may want to reevaluate that because if your goal is to make an income, like let's say you want to be a full-time author or you just want to make some extra income to pay for stuff, or your goal is impact to reach a lot of people. You need income to do both of those. So like you need income to make an impact. And through impact, then you can make more income. So when you are looking at your pre-orders, typically independent authors, self-published authors, they host their pre-orders on Amazon KDP. With that, currently, you can only do a pre-order for an ebook version directly with Amazon KDP. There's ways
Mm,
to do workarounds to get it to show up, but there's a whole litany of reasons why I don't recommend that either. And so if you're only focusing on pre-orders for the ebook, you typically are using the free option to get downloads from people who are not generally your ideal reader, or you are likely going to lock yourself into the free Kindle Unlimited option where you're only getting paid for page reads. And at that point, you're making 0.004 cents per page on average. And I did the math when I first heard about this and I said, I would have to have millions of people read these books, millions of pages, because it's just the first page read. It's not every page read in order to make the results that I want to see, like in order to get the income I want to see. And there are people who have millions of page reads. So those romance authors who your book is a bazillion pages. Okay, I get it. I get why you would do that. But as far as everyone else, if your book is 100 pages, if you have a children's book, it's not the most profitable option for you. So hosting pre-orders outside of Amazon KDP on other platforms, specifically your website, is the better strategy because you can sell additional things with your book. You can provide additional support to your reader. You actually get the contact information for your buyers because on Amazon, you have no idea who's buying your book whatsoever because you're not shipping it to them. They don't share their contact information. You have no idea who that person is. So that means for ongoing marketing and sales, such as email marketing, such as social media marketing, such as a thank you, if I want to send you a thank you card, I have no idea who purchases my books on Amazon. And so hosting those pre-orders on your website make it so that you have access to that information so that you can send continual contact points. You can send a thank you card. You can bundle other things with your book in order to increase the average order value. So instead of selling just a $15 book, you might be able to sell a $50 bundle. The packages that I shared with you earlier of how people can work with me, those were all a part of my book pre-order process. People could buy the book, they could sign up for the course, they could sign up for the group coaching program, or they could do a one-on-one VIP day with me. Instead of, like I said, once again, so instead of a $20 book, for example, I can sell 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. I can sell, there's no limit essentially, can combine with that book. And you're able to show up better for your audience. You're able to pay for all those little cute knickknacks and tchotchkes that we love to include with our books when we sell things. And you're able to have a better connection with your reader. So that way, when you have your next book, you already have an interest list of people who you could reach out to and say, hey, book number 2 is coming out, or the next book in this series. Would you like to pre-order it? And so it just is something that repeats and repeats and repeats. Essentially, the takeaway is do not host your pre-order on Amazon KDP if your goal is to make an income so that you can reach more readers and continue to have marketing success outside of the platform. Especially now that these platforms are becoming more shaky and less likely of an option for people to shop on. So we're kind of seeing that now with the boycotts and things of that sort. So diversify your
Okay.
options and host on your website.
Are you ready to ignite your brand and watch it shine? Join Prism, the exclusive membership that gives you the tools to create, brand, and grow like a pro. Whether you're just starting or leveling up, Prism is packed with everything you need to take your brand to the very next level. Join now at bit.ly/Prism now. Your brand's next big move starts here. You did a thing. You became a marketing pro. So can you tell us a little bit about that? So I want you guys to know, I'm prefacing this question because I want you guys to know, like, she's the real deal. She knows what she's doing. She's very knowledgeable in her area, as you can tell. But I want you to tell us about that thing you did.
Okay. Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that Audrey Richmond is one of my mentors. I completed a marketing certification through Uncloned Marketing, which is her company. If you're not familiar with Audrey, she is known for doing really out of the box, really unique marketing campaigns that stand out. When you have 4 million books being released each year, you need to stand out. And so I said, okay, let me look at this program, let me sign up for it and see how I can up-level my own skills. Now, before that, I was already coming up in terms of being known for book marketing, book launches, things like that, and people would come to
Yes,
me
you
for
were.
these things. And so I said, okay, how can I serve my audience at a higher level? How can I step things up for myself? How can I really be like tried by the fire and like put through the ringer? And I said, okay, I need to go to the best of the best. And so Audria, when it comes to these really unique, elaborate ones that are just make you go wow type of campaigns, not just for books, but for marketing in general for small businesses. I said, okay, let me work with her. And so through that process, I did complete the certification. And so I'm an Uncloned Certified Pro. And that means that I'm able to use the proprietary systems and frameworks from Uncloned Media, which is her business, to be able to support other businesses. And so that looks like providing social media audits or website audits or helping folks to prepare their launches for not just books, but offers, products, services that they might provide, and helping them to be able to have that uncloned stamp of approval so that they know, okay, this is really going to wow them when it comes out. Like, this is going to be something that stands out from the crowd and helps them to generate more sales, which is just so important nowadays, especially as the online space is becoming more and more crowded and more and louder and louder. So,
Thank you. And I just want to touch on that because I wanted to kind of show everybody how you invest in yourself. You're not just helping people, but you still take the time to invest in yourself so that you can serve your clients better. And that's amazing. Lastly, what is your secret sauce? Like, what's the one thing you wish every author knew about successful book launches and pre-sales?
Good question. And okay, this might ruffle feathers again, but similar to what I said earlier, I decided to not really focus on book sales as much within the last couple of years. And the reason for that is I read a book by Mike McWolowitz, and I might be butchering his last name, but he was a speaker at the business conference I went to in 2017, where I gave you that previous quote, and then also another conference in 2020. And he's the author of a book called Profit First. And so it helps you to prioritize profit in your business. So that way, instead of waiting until you reach this certain amount of income to finally pay yourself, you're paying yourself from the first dollar that you make. With that, I said, okay, well, how can I apply this to everything else? And so in the author space, there's such a focus on, oh, I've sold this many books, I've sold this many books. And once again, I believe that comes from traditional publishing because, of course, New York Times bestseller status or all these other options of bestseller status, when in actuality, that number really can fluctuate as a self-published author. You can sell 5 books and be bestseller in some categories. It might take 5,000 books to be bestseller in other categories. So it's not a uniform, like saying that you're a bestseller, an Amazon bestseller is not a uniform way to actually understand how many books you've sold and or really to track success. Because once you've sold those books, okay, if you're selling on Amazon KDP, you've made maybe anywhere from like $1 to $5, depending upon the book. Of course, that varies. But at the end of the day, you're on this endless cycle to have to keep selling and selling and selling and selling all these books in order to make an income from it. And I just believe that authors deserve to be paid. I believe they deserve to be paid handsomely. We work really hard. We literally create worlds from scratch out of like nothingness. And we also
Right.
support people with life-changing transformations. And so when it comes to that, I said, okay, I need to align my focus with things that focus on that. And so shifting over to profit and also shifting over to the legacy that's being left behind. Because with my books, for example, the book I'm coming out with now, Profitable Publishing with Pre-orders, once you understand how to have a profitable pre-order, you literally can release books whenever you want to. Once you know, okay, I can pay for my publishing costs before my book is done, I can support people and tie in my business and not have to worry about, oh, I got to pay for ISBN, I got to pay for XYZ. When it's just like, okay, well, I'm going to offer this option, I'm going to find my readers. And then I know that the things I'm creating are supporting them to be able to reach their goals. It's like a trickle effect. It's like a ripple effect of, okay, these people know how to do this. Now they can do it. Now they're going to teach somebody else to do it, or they might refer them back to me. Whether or not they do, that's fine. But to me, that's a legacy of being able to have people, especially in these economic times, to have people to be able to create their own income and diversify that income in a way that really like lights them up on the inside. To me, that's the best thing.
That's so impactful. Thank you so much for that. I hope that you all have taken something from this conversation with Ashley Shepard, and I wish you the best. I thank you so much for coming on Talk Like a Brand. And
Yeah.
I'm continuously looking for great things from you because you have amazing ideas. And so, guys, how can you support her? We're going to ask her now. Ashley, how can everybody support you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I am at Shep Publishing, so SHEP, and then publishing on all social media platforms as well as YouTube. Great content over there. And then if you are interested in hosting a pre-order for your book, then please order my book, Profitable Publishing with Pre-orders. And you can do that at profitableselfpublishing.com. And if you are looking for guidance, whether it's from publishing, I know we've talked a lot about marketing today, but also publishing services are a great option to tie into your marketing because are so hand in hand. And so feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook as well. Ashley D's Shepard over there. Got the maiden name so people from high school can find me, but but
Right.
kept publishing on all platforms so that you are able to reach out. And thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course, of course. And so, guys, until next time, I want you to keep creating, keep building, keep branding, and let's grow.